Okay guys, I believe you are conversant with this particular animation here. If you have been following my channel, I want to show you what I encountered while I was compositing this particular shot. Okay, on a normal VFX shot, okay, it normally goes in this particular kind of direction, which is the footage that you are going to composite the 3D object in or the animation on. After that, you now layer the shadow on top of it. This is the shadow, and then you now put the 3D object on top. So that means it goes in this order and direction: the footage, the shadow, and then the object. Okay, so while looking at this, I encountered some problem here, and now I'm going to show you the problem. The problem is this: when you look at this particular shots here, or this particular shadow, you will notice some stuffs that are kind of creeping out, and these things that are creeping out is actually caused by luminosity. Okay, when it comes to a color, there are three things that make up a color: the hue of the color, okay, the hue of the color, the saturation, how deep or how colorful that particular color is in that particular hue, okay, and then finally the luminosity of the color. Okay, that's how bright or how dark the color is. Now in this particular or in these points here, these points are actually exposed because this shot was done in a day, in a very sunny day. And look at it here, look at the footage, and you notice this here, the shadows are kind of harsh. That means the sun is high. Now I want the shadow I'm going to place here to have this kind of flatness, not bleeding out in luminosity. Okay, so I want it to have this kind of flatness, and now but it's not achieving that stuff here, because if you notice here, you are seeing something like this. So now, because method I'm using to bring out my shadows in this particular from the 3D scene is not the normal method of exporting a shadow with a background or a transparent background on a PNG and then just slapping it on top of the image. No, I'm using the shadow catcher pass. The shadow catcher pass, which is this. That's why it's like this. It's not a transparent image, it has white. That's why I'm not using just the alpha over node. I'm using the multiply node to multiply it here. Okay, so now that means the white areas are going to be off, because the white areas are, let me say, equivalent to 1, and in mathematics anything times 1 is the color, and anything times 0 is 0, or is going to get darker. Okay, so now but now I need to handle this particular luminosity of these colors. So what did I do? I now use the Luminance Key, Luminance Key in Blender, to tone down the particular points that are very, very high in terms of luminosity, that are very, very bright, the brighter colors. Okay, I brought it out here, and then with this I created it as a mask. Okay, I'm going to use the mask to separate some grading that I'm going to do to suppress that luminous values. So now when I set it as the alpha of this particular image, and then I added blur here, okay, to blur it out a little bit, because without the blur, if you notice, it's kind of very, very harsh. Okay, now the blur is going to smoothen it out, and then this is where I did the suppression of the luminosity of the colors with this RGB curves. Okay, so now with the RGB curves, this is how it is. And then when I mix it here, look at how it is. This is before, and this is after. Okay, but you're not really going to notice it very well. Take a look at it here, before and after. I've suppressed the bright values in that particular segment where I am going to add the shadow on top. Okay, and now I don't want it, because I'm using an alpha over node. Alpha over node places the whole stuff on top of everything. Okay, so but because I don't want to do that, that's why I'm using this as a factor, which is the mask of this shadow catcher. Okay, so that everywhere is going to affect are the places that have the shadows. Okay, which is these white areas. Okay, so now when I place it on top of this thing, you notice that the shadows are now becoming flat. Are you seeing it now? And then this is the final stuff here. These are little details that you might not really notice very well, but this is how it works. So now let me remove what I did here. Let me mute it. Okay, are you seeing before and then after? Before, after. So these are the little things that go into professional compositing of VFX works. So Hope you enjoyed this.